trial, did you actually see the Nuremberg trials yourself?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you have duties in association with the trial itself?
Did what?
Did you have a duty? Did you actually go into the courtroom and see the trial?
Not really. Ours
Okay.
was typing affidavits, but
Okay.
we had passes to go to Nuremberg and passes to go to Dachau. But Dachau was a very small hearing building. Weren't hardly, well, to show you as an example, maybe I'll do this a little bit, but at the Battle of the Bulge, that was 2 days after the war started, after we went across the Rhine. I forget the name of the division, and it wasn't German division, Nazis, but they shot about 100 of our soldiers.
At Malmedy, they shot them.
Malmedy Massacre, it was
Yes,
called.
Sepp Dietrich was the SS commander that they had the soldiers shot.
And then when that trial started, we had to find out who were in that outfit that shot those American soldiers. And I wasn't part of that, but I know going to some of the trials where they did have about 100 from that outfit, maybe less. I think it was close to 60 or 70 that were shot in there, maybe more. And there was one guy that laid in the snow there. This was in December. He laid in the snow, played dead, and till he somehow got back to American lines. And I was there, and I have a picture of that, when this guy was interviewed on the Dachau.
So what you're saying is the trial of the Germans involved in the Malmedy massacre occurred at Dachau. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
And they hung the ones that, I think there were 40 actual guilty. How that was determined, I'm not sure. But they filled the whole court because they had over 100 sitting all around that area that they had, and normally you didn't have that many involved in a trial, you know, but it wasn't that big.
Going back to Nuremberg for a second, did you ever see any of the proceedings that are shown in the picture like this?
Yeah. I can tell you a bit about the testimony of Goering.
Yeah.
All right. He was always, let's I'll show you where Goering is sitting here. All right, this is Goering over here. Hess is over here, but Hermann Goering, most of these guys, all of them, had occasion to defend themselves. And they had lawyers. And they maybe gave a trial of about half a day. The testimony that they gave, we were all taking orders, just taking orders, weren't coming. But there was one I'll tell about him, Albert Speer. He's back in here. And Albert was the only one I know of that admitted guilt. And he said, we weren't just taking orders, some of us were giving orders. And I got a little story to tell about him. But over here, Goering, when he got his turn, he ranted and raved for 3 days. And I'll never forget on one day that I was there, and Norbert was sitting next to me. And Goering came forward like this, and he said, step outside and just smell the dead that's under your feet. You did that, America. You killed all those people underground, and that's your fault that did that. And he went on and on about that it was America's fault for the bombing that they did. And I think that lasted 3 days. Anyway, the next day, Jackson was the prosecuting attorney, should I say?
Yep.
For Allies. Robert Jackson, most brilliant man I ever heard talk. Oh, he was good. He had done his homework. And the Goering was sitting over here, and the very next day, Jackson had all of his data ready. And in a half a day, he had knocked a cocked hat into everything that Goering had said as lies. Goering would still look around like this, and what made you mad? Anyway, well, that's the story on Goering. He didn't care. He didn't pay attention.
So you saw some of the examination of Goering by Robert Jackson, the United States prosecutor.
Yeah.
And what were your impressions of Jackson?
Oh, he was brilliant. I don't know what position he had on the Supreme Court.
He was an associate justice.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he spoke this so clearly and profound, and he was the most brilliant man I ever heard talk, because it just came to him. Yeah.
Where were you sitting in the courtroom?
Oh, it would be on this courtroom, and you're way back up into here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you hear everything that was said?
I thought so.
Okay.
Yeah. But this was in Nuremberg that Gary testified. Now that was it was the only, they call it the palace. And it was one of the only buildings in Nuremberg hadn't been bombed, not much. And then it had a adjoining building where they were kept for individual cells. And that's where I've got some stories to tell a little bit about those individual cells and when Gary took the pill, and I was there then. Well, we can get into that.
Sure, let's do that. Which other of the defendants did you hear testify? You said you heard Speer testify?
Well, all of them. I heard Speer, Albert Speer. You know, we were taking bets because the guilty ones would hang. They had to commit 4 to attain the hanging offenses for hanging. I forget what all they are. I got it listed on my list and pictures. But anyway, of that, there it goes again.
Take this down and leave it up, or what do you think?
I got another one of those forgetful things.
So we were talking about who you heard testify. You said you heard Speer testify.
Yeah, Speer testified.
Okay.
And he was the one that determined which camps these railroad cars bringing the Jews in would go to, of all the concentration camps, pretty much determined by Speer. And so we thought, boy, he's as guilty as a ball. I mean, he's putting them in all the different, but he's the only one that got up and said he was guilty.